when I was growing up, I was suicidal, and I would have these urges where I'd be like, I don't want to be alive anymore. Like if you have a difficult day or week or month or year in your marriage or your career or your life, you think like, oh, if the rest of my life is like this, it's not worth living.
I went through my childhood with really acute psychiatric problems that I didn't tell one human being. Literally, it was just me thinking I was completely mad.
I'm a mental health advocate, so the reason why I feel confident is because there's nothing about my life that I'm embarrassed by. You can't Google.
How we frame our past in a way that frees us from its kind of toxic grip so that we can actually believe the future could be better.
A lot of people have a vision of the future that is only a slightly different version of their past. So like if I experience tremendous pain every year for 30 years, my likelihood of believing that my 31st year will not be just as painful is very low.
What are some ways that either you've worked on your past?
Big misconception around the past and dealing with the past is people say, well, it's in the past, I don't think about that anymore. There's people who accidentally keep reliving the same patterns. I think a lot of those people would say that's in the past.
Welcome to the Healing Mindset Podcast, brought to you by us at My Upper Mind. We are a network of next-generation mental health clinics delivering Spravato and ketamine therapy for people with depression. I'm your host, David Drapkin, and our guest today is Johnny Crowder. Johnny is a suicide abuse survivor, a TEDx talk speaker. He's a touring musician and lead singer with a heavy metal band called Prison. He's a certified peer recovery specialist and the founder and CEO of Copenotes, which is a text-based mental health platform that provides daily support to users in nearly 100 countries around the world. In this episode, Johnny and I focus on not giving up on life, on yourself, and not giving up on the belief that you can heal and grow and that the future can be different to the past. Don't give up is our message. And Johnny shares so many coping tools and amazing psychological hacks and affirmations to keep us open to believing that things just might get better. Johnny opens up about his experiences of healing from abuse and complex PTSD, being in recovery, and in helping others with their recovery through being a certified recovery peer specialist, and then why he founded Copenotes in order to spread the positive impact to thousands of people every single day. Johnny's an in-demand keynote speaker, and he specializes in talking to audiences at big companies and big public organizations about why they need to talk around mental health with each other. All right, enjoy this episode of The Healing Mindset. Hello, everybody. Greetings. This is David Drapkin sitting down with Johnny Crowder, and we are about to have a bloody good time. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm ready to rock, dude.
Yeah.
I woke up ready.
You've got an amazing story, and I think the first thing I want to ask you, Johnny, is the topic we just talked about, don't give up. Not giving up. Why is it so important not to give up and to let people know, don't give up?
I think everybody has moments where they are seriously considering throwing in the towel on all sorts of stuff. Like, I've never been married, but pretty much every friend I know who is married has had moments where they consider ending their marriage. I am a founder. Every founder I know has moments where they think about quitting their company. And I've actually had thoughts exactly like this, verbatim. I've thought, I'm going to shut my company down and get a job at Target. And it's got to be easier than what I'm doing now. And I'm so exhausted. And there are those, have you heard of urge surfing?
Yeah.
It's like where you feel a temptation to do something and then you just experience the temptation without taking an action. So you just sort of ride the wave of that urge. And there's like an urge to quit that a lot of people have. For me, when I was growing up, I was suicidal, and I would have these urges where I'd be like, I don't want to be alive anymore. And those waves pass. That's the lie that you hear when you're in that experience, is you hear this, oh, it's always going to be this way. Like if you have a difficult day or week or month or year in your marriage or your career or your life, you think like, oh, if the rest of my life is like this, it's not worth living. And I learned this lesson from doing a cold plunge. A lot of people, so this guy taught me how to do it. He's like a cold plunge coach or contrast therapy coach or something. And he goes, when you get in the water, your body is going to tell your brain, if we stay in here forever, we're going to die. And so you're going to want to get out right away. And he said the big mistake most people make is they say, "Nuh-uh." They like deny what their body is saying. And he said, what I recommend saying is, you're absolutely right, body. If it stays just like this, if my body stays in here forever, I will die. It would be terrible if I stayed in here forever. But good news, there's a timer that's right there. And when that
Mm.
timer goes off, I won't be in, we neither one of us will be in this tub anymore. We'll be out of the tub, and all we will have is the memory of how cold this tub was. So I always tell people, like, the odds of your life staying exactly as it is forever are zero. There's no possible way. No one in the history of time has had each day be worse than the last for 90 years. Like there's infinite variability to that. So I always encourage people. My favorite phrase in this vein is tomorrow might be better, because it's always true. Tomorrow might be better. There's no guarantee that tomorrow will be as bad as today was or worse. There's a chance, of course,
Mm.
but remaining open to the change, the idea that, like, there's a Copenotes text actually that says every day people like fall in love and win the lottery. Um, like, you literally never know what might happen the next day. And if you quit now, you lock in your losses. It's like selling your stock when the price has dipped. There's a temptation to quit, but usually the temptation to quit is greatest when your losses are greatest. So you don't want to lock in those losses. You want to stick around and see what happens.
Loads of good points there. I love it, Johnny. And I love that you're doing the cold plunges as well. I've been doing that, and I take showers cold every day, which in the
Oh,
winter
cold
time's great.
showers.
Yeah, I do that too. I
Cold
love it.
showers are
I love it.
are not something that I do every day.
Yeah. No, it just gives me a sense of having accomplished something. I like to shower in the morning and then
Yeah.
in the evening, and it's like, oh, I did, it was a good accomplishment, good way to start the day, pushing through resistance, not having
Yeah.
an easy life. It's like, oh, I can do that. And I guess part of what you're saying is around resilience. So I'd love to talk about that. But maybe first, Johnny, is around what you just said is around it might be better tomorrow. And it's not giving someone that like saccharine, oh, things are going to work out. Things will be great. Don't worry, things will definitely get better, because you don't know that. And people are like, well, how do you
Yeah.
know that? Have you got a crystal ball? It's like,
Yeah.
no, but by just saying it might get better, just stay open to it. That's part of not
Yeah.
giving up. So, and part of what you're saying that I want to go into now, Johnny, is around the past, how we frame our past in a way that frees us from its kind of toxic grip, so that we can actually believe the future could be better. So I think to talk about the future, we first got to talk about the past. So what are some ways that either you've worked on your past and how it shows up in life?
Have you heard that phrase that's on commercials for like investment products, and they say something like past results are not guarantees of future results or something like that,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
future performance? Um, yeah, past performance is not a guarantee of future results, I think. And it's like a really common phrase. And I look at things in my past. So my throat tattoo says miracle season.
Miracle season. Lovely.
And the idea behind that tattoo was it was my 31st birthday. And I realized that from age 30 to 31, so from birthday to birthday, it was my first really sort of objectively good year of my life.
Wow.
Like, no, I mean, no one's in the hospital, no one's getting evicted. Like, there's no big hard stuff happened in that year. Don't get me wrong, but there were no big banner. Like, that was one of the biggest, most difficult things I've ever faced. And I realized this on my 31st birthday, I wasted the whole year not even celebrating and enjoying the goodness, because I was sort of cowering mentally, uh, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like I didn't want to celebrate because I'm like, I know another bad thing is just around the corner. And that's because I'd experienced so many different types of trauma consecutively throughout my life that I'm like, well, there's no way I'm going to have a whole good year. So I might as well, I shouldn't get out the party hats now. And it showed me that probably a lot of people have a vision of the future that is only a slightly different version of their past. So, like, if I experience tremendous pain every year for 30 years, my likelihood of believing that my 31st year will not be just as painful is very low. So, it made me think about this analogy. Imagine that your whole life, you live 100 years, let's say, and you have the worst 33 years of your life, you have your best 33 years of your life, and you have your neither good nor bad, like neutral 33 years. So if you align them all from worst to best year, it would be broken up into thirds. And I believe that most people think that their life will be good, then bad, then good, then bad, kind of like a pendulum. Like
Mm.
things get extremely difficult and then lovely, and extremely difficult and lovely. And generally, I believe that to be true of circumstance. Like there are seasons to life, and sometimes things are wonderful, sometimes things are hard. And I think the flaw with that analogy is that it doesn't account for personal growth. So the way I picture it is like if you're not watching a video of this recording, then this won't make sense. So just picture my hands and try to
Go to
imagine what
YouTube
it
and
looks
watch
like.
it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we picture this left to right to left to right, good to bad. And then what I believe it is this. So it's a pendulum swinging, but it's on an escalator. So
Mm.
slowly it's moving up and to the right, which means that my most difficult year now is easier than my most difficult year 10 years ago because I have the coping skills and support system that I didn't have
Mm.
before. So all of this to say, dealing with your past is important. And by dealing with your past, you build the skill set required to navigate those down pendulum swings so that progressively they become less taxing.
Love it. And I love how you drew the pendulum getting higher. In a sense, it's a spiral, it's ascending upwards, and it's building upon deeper and deeper foundations of us
And
within us.
the idea of miracle season is I was like, I can choose to believe that the worst 33 years of my life have already happened.
Mm.
Because there's no rule in the book that says they have to be evenly distributed. Like, I could have already lived my worst 33 years. The rest of my life could be either neutral or good. I don't know. And it was like, it felt so liberating to not think, well, I probably have so many of the worst years of my life ahead of me. I don't know that.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee. So it was like, I'm going to choose that the rest of my life is miracle season. It's either neutral or good. And I've already lived the worst third of my life.
That's liberating simply because, not assuming that something bad's about to happen, if things are going well. But also you're developing here in what you were saying earlier, Johnny, instead of that binary good and bad bit, it's not quite as black and white. Like it goes from good to bad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many nuances within it. And each day has good and bad. Like,
Yep.
every moment of life. And somehow we grow through it. We get through the worst days and the best days, and good will end, and so too will bad will end. And that's I think builds some resilience here as well around just tolerating the variability of life.
Yeah, man. I look at my past and I think like I've done a lot of trauma therapy specifically around, do you know the Richards trauma process?
No, no, I don't.
Oh, it's excruciating. It's like really difficult.
Like
But
exposure therapy?
the short version is you're like going back uh in time to an instance of abuse, and you sort of freeze frame it and you look at the person who's harming you,
Mm.
and then you look at yourself, your younger self, and you communicate, you like freeze it, and then you say to what I did, there might be different ways of doing it, but what I had to do was to look at my abusers and in individual instances of abuse, which I do pretty I do make an effort to not revisit those often. And so actually doing this intentionally and going back to like a specific instance and then freezing it and saying to the person who's hurting me, I can't even imagine the depth of pain that must exist in your life for you to treat somebody this way. And I
Mm.
have deep empathy for whatever has happened to you in your life that has caused this type of behavior to be normal for you. And then You also look at your younger self and you say, nothing you're doing deserves this. It's not, there's nothing that a little kid could ever do to deserve the type of treatment that, so you sort of talk to your younger self and say, this person is experiencing a lot of dysfunction and tumult, and you're just around. You happen to be the person who's in the vicinity of someone who's not healthy. And so it's not because you left your towel on the floor. It's not because you got an A minus or whatever. It's not, don't think that. It's nothing you're doing. It's a product of this person's dysfunction. And I'm so sorry this is happening. So, and then you stand up for yourself and you say to the person, this kid does not deserve this. So it's like a really difficult thing. And you do it literally consecutive nights. So you do it like over and over again. You have to listen to this thing when you go to sleep.
Wow.
It's really difficult. But all of this to say, I think a big misconception around the past and dealing with the past is people say, well, it's in the past. I don't think about that anymore. And at least for me, I've experienced tremendous trauma and abuse and mental and emotional health difficulties. So when I didn't have that version where I'm like, it's in the past, I don't think about it. I had to really consciously and continuously work through some of those challenges so that I don't enter into a new relationship or opportunity or whatever and bring that with me. There's people who accidentally keep reliving the same patterns. And I think a lot of those people would say that's in the past. And it's like, oh, I don't know that for some of the more complex challenges, I don't know that we can just say that's in the past. I don't think about it. Like, I encourage you to really do, and it's going to maybe be ugly and feel difficult, but man, with the fact that I can like go into new friendships or family relationships or romantic relationships and not carry like, oh, those people hurt me, so these people might hurt me. That liberation is worth the work.
That's awesome. So we're talking about the past as something that not just we need to separate from the present moment to know it's not going to repeat itself, but actually there's benefits in going back into it. So it's not just in the past, it's actually in the present. And unless we go back into it, it's going to be in the future too. So we need to go back in. But you're talking about there's a lot of love and compassion and forgiveness for yourself, but also for the abuser. And that's really, really hard to do. But that love and compassion is awesome. I love that,
dude.
that you're doing
and
it in
there's
that
a
way.
fine line because I have gone too far in the other way where I've permitted people to treat me poorly out of love and compassion for them.
Yeah.
So I've become too forgiving and to the point of like codependence. So I've also had to learn that there's some people who are like, they carry anger towards their abusers for years and years and years. And then there's some people who are like, oh, but I love them and they're trying their best. And they actually permit and enable the behavior. And that's not healthy either. They're two sides of the same coin. So I'm basically saying I've gotten it wrong in two separate ways before.
Interesting. Thanks for being honest, man. I want to have a musical interlude and ask you about your latest song, Pillar of Salt, by
Yeah,
the
man.
band Prison, because I read about it and I listened to it on Spotify, and there's actually themes there around healing, but also, being really specific around how the healing happens. And I think the lyrics are around the difference between fault and responsibility. And that's taking responsibility for your own healing journey. So just talk us through what that song is. You don't have to sing it. It's a really intense song. But yeah, go check it out, Pillar of Salt by Prison. What was this song meant to convey, and why did you want to express it in such powerful words?
Healing has always included music for me. And it's really tough. Like for example, I was sexually abused when I was younger. And I didn't have words for that and wouldn't have even acknowledged that happened until I wrote a song about it. And it was like, as I was writing the song, I look back after I finished and I was like writing lyrics. And I'm like, that didn't happen to me, did it? There's no way. No, there's no way. And I'm looking at the lyrics are telling me what happened. And it's like lyrics allowed me to be honest with myself about what I experienced in a way that I didn't want to. And by the way, a lot of this might also be true for women. I don't know because I'm not one, but a lot of men that I know who have experienced sexual abuse will find all these different ways to describe it that doesn't count as sexual abuse. So we're
Mm.
like, well, I don't know, or the line was blurry, or, you know, she was really attractive, or I'm sure I said something that, there's all these ways where men try to like package it in a way that's more palatable. So we don't want to say I was sexually abused because it feels so emasculating and so like dangerous that we want to find different ways to explain it. So I think that's been true of abuse for me, especially early in my recoveries. I'd be like, well, the person didn't abuse me. Lots of people treat other people like that, and you see it in movies, and maybe I'm imagining that it was worse than it was, so we try to like package it. And music has always been this thing that has allowed me to be extraordinarily honest and direct. So as I was writing this song, it's actually about uh it's about a few different instances of abuse, but specifically around a romantic partner that I had who was abusive towards me, and about being in PTSD treatment for that and realizing this person. So I realized a few things when I was writing this song. Number one, this person is not going to come back into my life and heal all the damage that they caused. Like that is
Yes.
extremely unlikely and actually impossible. So even if they did come back, they couldn't actually untangle the web of like trauma that now exists. So like that's on me. It may not be my fault that I was hurt, but it is my responsibility to heal it because this person isn't going to come do it for me. But another thing that it made me realize is the part of you that wants to retaliate against people who hurt you, it's important to help that part of you understand that this, speaking of compassion, I had this realization that when I was writing that song, that the people who have hurt me have to live with that. That like they're gonna wake up, David, in 10 years or 20 years in the middle of the night in a cold sweat and be like, wow, I really, really hurt somebody.
Mm.
And that's awful. I feel so awful that they will have to experience that. I'm not saying I want them to. I'm saying like that's the natural consequence of hurting somebody is you feel oh, oh no, how could I have done that to somebody? What does that say about me? So again, I'm not wanting these people to experience shame. Not my goal. But when I was writing the song, I realized I don't have to retaliate because the price I pay is now I'm hurt and I have to go to treatment and I have to heal through this. And that's my cost. That's my bill. Their bill is they have to live with having been the person who caused the damage, and I would never want to pay that bill. I'd so much rather pay mine. So it helped
Mm.
me understand that in a situation of abuse, everybody gets hurt. We're just hurt in different ways.
So you speak from a place of truth and vulnerability around your own experiences, and you also speak publicly, doing keynotes around the world to all kinds of different audiences, including, kind of corporate workplaces around mental health and the importance of talking about mental health, not thinking, oh, I know I'm fine, or oh, I can't talk about it here, or I have to pretend, everything's normal and nothing's gone wrong with me today, or everything's, professional and perfect. So I think what I want to talk about is why why is it important for people to know that it's okay to talk about mental health and that it's actually necessary for us as a culture to feel a bit more okay with talking about mental health collectively, and then maybe also particularly men.
Yeah, I grew up in so I had two brothers and a dad, and they're all very sort of, at least especially when I was growing up, very traditional sort of male archetype, like driving trucks and throwing footballs and drinking beer. And it was just like, you're a man. And I grew up like painting my nails and making charcoal. I used to use charcoal and pastel to draw, and I played guitar and wrote poems. And so I was like I was cut from a very different cloth. And I learned that there's this famous Bill Burr quote that's like, he says, men are either allowed to be uh, angry or fine. That's it.
Right.
Those are the only two emotions that men are allowed to feel. Those are the only two acceptable emotions. And growing up, that was the case for me and my family. It was like, You could be angry and that was acceptable. That's, yeah, men get angry. Or you can be neutral, like off. Those
Mm.
are the only two real, because you can't be like giddy and creative, or you sure as heck can't be sad or hurt, right? You got to be a man, and men get angry instead of
Amen.
sad. So it was like, I grew up in this environment where my understanding of processing things was either to shut it down and be totally fine and pretend like it wasn't bothering me, or to display anger, like punching a hole in the wall or slamming a door, throwing something, raising my voice. And um, I feel like in corporate environments, you see sort of a version of that projected masculinity where everyone wants to appear strong. So as a kid, it might look like if you lose your temper, um, or you're really sad, a parent might say, "Snap out of it." Like, come on, this is not such a big deal. Like, get over it. And then the version of that in corporate culture is we say that to ourselves. So if we're in an office, we say, "Well, yeah, my wife is going through cancer treatment, but like I can't be this sad sack, right?" And it's like we just shut off that part of ourselves, and then over time it spills over as anger. And I've been blown away by uh the amount of difficulty that the average person faces. And
Mm.
you could pick any random person off the street and you talk to them for 15 minutes. And in those 15 minutes, something will surface where you go, that is an unbelievable hardship. They're like, "Oh yeah, my daughter was kidnapped in France." And you're like, "What? How is this not on national news?" Like
Yeah.
everybody is going through, "Oh yeah, my leg was amputated because I had an infection." What? Everybody. And these sound like ridiculous examples, but I guarantee you go sit on a city bus
Mm.
and you talk to some strangers and everyone is going through something extremely difficult. The reason why we don't talk about it with one another is because of what you just said. This idea that we want to appear strong. I think there's this idea that, especially in professional environments, we don't want to let our personal lives bleed into that. And I have been moved deeply by other people's openness because it grants permission. So if I have a friend who's been through miscarriages, multiple miscarriages, and the moment they started sharing about going through these, because they had kept it to themselves for a while, when they started sharing, out of the woodworks, so many couples saying, "We've had so many miscarriages, and it's heartbreaking." And we
Yeah.
people who like painted the child's bedroom and built the crib, and like just the heartbreak. And you're like, wait, all of you had experienced that before, but none of us were talking about it. And it's because it does take that first person. So I always encourage people in professional settings, like someone has to take the first slice of pizza. Like if there's a pizza out on the table and no one's taken a slice, you're sort of like, are we allowed?
Yeah.
But the moment, especially if you see a leader take a slice, you go, "Oh, okay, well then I guess we can all have pizza now." So like leading by example and sharing that difficulty really allows other people to say, "Well, if he's not posturing or she's not posturing, then I don't."
I particularly like the bit about taking the slice of pizza. My wife and I always joke, like whenever we're at a party or a buffet or like, you know, there's, yeah, literally pizza down. I'm literally always the first person to take the first
Let's
slice or
go.
to fill my plate up while it's hot, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
you're the permission giver. Everyone's so grateful for you, David. You know that? Like everyone's waiting for somebody to go do it so they can.
yeah. Yep. It's like, great, it's there. So I want to just stick with that bit, Johnny, around take being a leader and, in a sense, setting the tone, which might seem like it's challenging some taboo topics. It's going against the grain. It's being vulnerable. Maybe people will reject me. Maybe people will treat me differently. Maybe they think I'm not as reliable, or I might, be more sensitive, or they're going to treat me differently. And from that moment on, the cat's out the bag. I can't ever get it back again. I am weird. I am crazy. I've got problems. I'm tainted. These are some of I think, some of the things that people talk about. And for me, I went through my childhood with really acute psychiatric problems that I didn't tell one human being. Literally, it was just me thinking I was completely mad and, I might kill myself or do other things to myself. I was self-harming as well. And I got through my entire life, literally just hiding it because I thought, God, I can't let anyone know how bloody weird I am, how crazy I am, how messed up I am. I've got to somehow hide it, pull it together. And so I found football. That was what I did. I joined, played in the rugby team. Then I got into money and alcohol and drugs and women and economics and
Hmm.
university. And then this pathway that just seemed to, in a sense, normalize me. I could fit in then, even though I felt like I was so abnormal. And so I think by taking the lead and saying, I'm not normal, and nor are you. Forget that
Yeah.
idea of being normal and being perfect and fitting in. Let's just be real and let's explore how deep we really are, how complex all of our layers are, and all the different parts that make us who we are. Let's get to know those bits. That would be beautiful and liberating to do that.
Yeah, I forget the quote, but it's something like it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a poorly adjusted society or dysfunctional society or something. I was talking to a friend of mine after Bible study last night. We were talking about how like the healthier you get, the harder it is to date
Hmm. Hmm.
because there's a smaller and smaller pool of people who are as mentally and emotionally well adjusted as you. So like if you are not very mentally and emotionally healthy, there's lots of people who are sort of in that compatibility zone. And then the healthier you get, the less compatible you are with the general populace. And it's not bad. It's the same as if you spent 15 years playing rugby. The amount of people who could play rugby with you is much smaller because you're really good. You spent 15 years playing rugby. Like you are very skilled and it's not bad. So what we do is we say, maybe I should become worse at rugby so I could play with more people.
Yeah.
So I can become more compatible with more. And it's like, that's not the goal. The goal is to become the happiest, healthiest, safest, most self-actualized and fulfilled and well-adjusted version of ourselves. And if that makes us less compatible with other people, it's okay. And I think the real secret is that everybody is super weird and everybody's pretending that we're not. So when you said something about like that if I share about this, then people might treat me differently, people might think I'm weird. David, people already treat you differently. People already think you're weird. Like people what I've learned, this is the visualization that helped me get through because I'm a mental health advocate. So the
Mm.
reason why I feel confident now is because there's nothing about my life that I'm embarrassed by that you can't Google. Like it's all everybody already knows. I walk into a room and I'm like, there's nothing these people could discover about me that isn't already public domain. And so I feel completely free. And I
Right.
actually believe that there's something liberating about sharing with other people. Not only that it gives them permission to share, like I mentioned, but it also makes
Mm.
you feel like you're not hiding. And this was the visualization that helped me feel comfortable doing advocacy. Because I actually asked myself this, if I open up about this, there go all my job prospects, no one's going to hire me. There go all my dating prospects, no one's going to want to. How am I supposed to explain to like my girlfriend's dad that I grew up with a mental health condition? Like, how's he gonna take that? Is he gonna be afraid for his daughter's health? Like, I thought about all these things, and the way I pictured it that really helped me. It's goofy, but it helped me. Is I can either uh put on a hot dog costume and have everybody treat me like a hot dog when I'm not a hot dog. And some people like hot dogs, some people don't. Some people will think, oh, it's funny, look at that costume. And some people will be like, that's totally inappropriate. Or I can be myself. And some people will like me, some people won't like me. Some people will think, oh, it's really cool. And some people will think this is totally inappropriate. So, like, no matter what I do, what costume I put on, some people like it, some people won't. So, if the outcome is the same, which is that some people will like me, some people won't, some people will accept me, and some people I won't, then I'm sure as heck not wearing a hot dog costume. It's too hot in Florida.
Mm.
I'm going to dress how I want. I'm going to be exactly myself. And probably the same ratio of people will like me. But the better part about not wearing the costume is the people who like you actually like who you are. They don't like the costume. So if ever, let's say there's only 15 people in the world who are actually going to really, truly love you. Whether you wear a costume or not, I'd
Mm.
rather those people actually love me and not the costume.
And that this comes back to your song around taking responsibility as well for the past and the healing, and to show up now, right? To really ask questions. Who am I? How do I express myself? how complex and deep and kind of multiplicitous can I really be? And so I love, you've got your tattoos now. When you were a kid, you painted your nails and you did, poetry. I write poetry too. How do I express myself? What brings me joy? Like, where do I want to go that feels fucking great? Like, is it a forest? Is it a river? Is it to a concert? Is it to like a DIY hardware store? I love them, by the way. Like, what brings me pleasure? Like, really differentiate and get specific. And I hear that's what you're saying. Like, in a sense, we're taking a step into a part of us that once we go down it, it's hard to turn back because we know that it feels good. We know we kind of get that feedback loop. Oh, I guess I like being in hardware shops. Oh, I guess I like poetry by the river. Okay, so I want to keep doing more of that. But that means I'm gonna have to tell people, oh, I can't come watch the game today because I'm down by the river writing poetry or hanging out in a hardware store looking at drills. So we take that first step and it's like, oh, I want to commit to that now. I'm now responsible because this feels good and feels right, and I owe it to myself to continue in this direction.
People think that telling the truth is harder than just pretending, and I strongly disagree. I think if you tell the truth, you never have to keep track of what you said. You always feel liberated because you don't feel like you're hiding anything. You feel like people actually know you. I think lying and pretending to be somebody and having to keep track of, this is my professional self, this is my self that I am with my college friends, this is my self I am with my wife. Having all these different selves is 10 times more work. So if your concern is that, oh, I don't want to tell somebody about who I am or what I'm going through because it's hard, brother, what you're doing now is 10 times harder than telling the truth.
You're right. It takes a lot of effort and energy to, in a sense, play a role and act like I am just this one simple person, or this version of me will fit in. That's been acceptable and normal enough. But the other
Yeah.
parts of me, these other questions or urges or energies within me, don't go there.
Dude, I cannot express how little I try to be anybody. Like, it's so freeing. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking to you the same way that I would talk to a friend or family member, the same way that I would talk to an employee. Like, there's just one mode of me, and I that has not always been the case. So I remember when I first started my company, I'm 24 years old. I'm like, no one's going to take me seriously. So I'm like, oh, do I need to wear a suit, or do I need to like cover my tattoos, or do I need to not
Yeah.
say dude? Like, I kept thinking, like, who do people want me to be so that they'll accept me? And I just got to a point where I'm like, this is so exhausting. Like, I'm just going to be 100% myself. And if I fail as 100% myself, I would rather do that than succeed as somebody else. So now the effortlessness with which, dude, you could wake me up out of a dead sleep, David, and put me on a stage and say you're going to speak in front of 2,000 government officials. I would speak just exactly like I am now. I would wear exactly what I'm wearing now. I wouldn't change anything. And that flexibility and freedom of not having to, oh, I'm going out to dinner with somebody. Maybe I should give them this version of myself. Like, just to get to be Johnny Crowder every day all the time frees up so much mental real estate for other stuff, and it dramatically increases my quality of life.
There's this other idea that you spoke about in your TED talk, Johnny, and tell people all about it as well, where, in a sense, this idea of don't give up, it applies to persistence and commitment and routines and lifestyle and habits, and this being a lifelong process of growing, evolving, and healing. So it's not a quick fix. This is an important piece. Don't give up because today wasn't great, or because this meeting didn't go well, or because this meditation wasn't successful. Whatever it is, it's like, don't give up. Keep going. So what's this idea that you're putting out there that was awesome in the TED talk around the constant commitment and investment in self and growth as a really a lifelong process?
Yeah, I always tell people recovery is my full-time job. So
Mm,
like my I remember when I started touring, and we got signed to a record label and got some big shot manager and agent, and we started doing these big tours with bands I grew up listening to. And I remember at that time, rewind, to maybe 2011, 2012, I would say I would trade anything. I'd give anything to be a rock star. Anything. You name it, I'll give it up. And I looked at that as like, I'm just dedicated and committed, and this is what it looks like to be loyal to your craft, and to it. And now I'm like, brother, I can think of 12 things I wouldn't give up to be a rock star. Are you kidding me? I would never compromise my sobriety. I would never compromise my relationships with people I love. I would never compromise my integrity. Like dude, there's so many things that I would not trade. And that security of like feeling like I wouldn't trade those things, it all comes back to recovery. Like there are things now that supersede the importance of everything else in my life. I would rather me be happy and healthy and safe than have Copenotes become $1 billion company. I don't want to be Jeff Bezos. I want to be happy and healthy and safe. That's my number one goal. So I think what's really cool is the more you start investing in yourself in those little ways, like you said, just a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow, and you start leveling up like, wow, I think I really handled that challenging situation a lot better than I would have maybe a few months ago or a few years ago. And you start seeing those early wins in your character where you're like, wow, I handled that in a way that I want to handle the next challenge I face just like that. I liked how that turned out. I
Mm.
was really patient with that person. And that used to be a lot harder for me than it is today. If you keep working on those things, the misconception that I had and something that I hoped for was that I would have this moment. A lot of people ask me in recovery, like, what was that moment where you just realized that everything had to change, or that moment where everything changed for you? And I'm like, dude, was I supposed to have one of those? Like I hoped, I kept hoping. I was like holding out for everyone says, "Oh, until you hit rock bottom or until you have that eureka moment." And it's like, dude, it was not one big thing for me. It was like a bunch of tiny little moments where like I almost lost my temper because someone got my order wrong somewhere and I didn't lose my temper. And I was like,
Mm.
wow,
Mm.
a bunch of and I don't remember specific examples because there's thousands. So
Yeah.
like each time you make this tiny little investment in your character, those compound. And I always encourage people, like, if you feel like you haven't had that moment yet, you don't have to wait around for it, and it might never come. So like instead of hanging your hat on that one big thing, I would encourage you to say it's the same as like, imagine if I didn't eat any vegetables at all, breakfast, lunch, dinner, no vegetables. And then once every 2 weeks, I ate like 3.5 pounds of green beans. It's like, dude, that's a terrible system. Like, it's going to absolutely wreck your body. That's very dumb. It would make so much more sense to have a little bit of vegetables every day. That's so much better for your long-term health. But then when you look at mental and emotional health, we're like, well, I went to therapy for 8 weeks and nothing happened.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, imagine saying I ate vegetables for 8 weeks and nothing happened. It's like, brother, you're supposed to continue eating vegetables. It's
Yeah.
like, that's part of the trick is remaining consistent.
This is great because there's two pieces to this. One is the time and committing, and it takes a while, but there's also the quantity, and the smaller the better. And so that's something I work on with my clients using positive psychology. The big goals, like, okay, I want to be happy and kids and job and, six pack, whatever it might be. Okay, forget about that. Let's see if, let's talk about that in a year's time. But what about right now? Like, okay, what time are you getting out of bed? What do you eat for breakfast? You know, are you doing any yoga? And it's the smallest thing possible. I want my clients to think about what is the smallest thing and what is the highest amount of smallest things that you can fit into your day so that you can just move it just by like 1 degree. Like if you move that compass by 1 degree, wow, in a year's time, you're in a different place. And in your TED talk, Johnny, there was a bit similar to what you're saying about like every couple of weeks you have a couple pounds of green beans, but you were talking about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, yeah? So tell us about that bit. I love that bit. Just in brief.
Yeah, the idea of somebody asking me like, what was that moment where everything changed for you is the same to me as asking like a professional wrestler, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's out. If you don't know who he is, he's like the most ripped guy on the planet. He's absolutely massive. And it's like asking him like, can you tell us about the one push-up that gave you the physique that you have today? It's like an absurd question. It's like, dude, there were so many times where I was at the grocery store and I got a sweet and I put it back.
Mm,
It was in my cart. And then right when I go to check out, I'm like, I don't think I really need ice cream today. So I put it on the side and I don't check it out. Or there are so many moments where it's like, oh man, it's pouring rain. I don't want to go to the gym. And by the way, no one's tracking me. I'm a professional wrestler. So like I could do whatever I want. I'm a freaking millionaire. I can go do whatever I want. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go to the gym even though I don't feel like it. All of those little moments that nobody will ever see or hear about. So I always encourage people, even what I do when I don't want to run, uh, I will ask myself, or I'll give myself a choice, and I say, if it doesn't matter, don't do it. If it does matter, do it. And I'll actually sit there and think like, does it matter that I go on
Mm.
a run today? I'm like, yes, I know that it does. And I always give myself that out. If it doesn't matter, don't do it. And it's not pressure. It's like a really healthy way to frame these little things. And it's a reminder that the little things do matter. Like when I was in, when I first started CPTSD treatment last year for this, I remember I was trying to go on a run and I wanted to go on a run near uh, a a setting that I had experienced abuse. It was like a part of town and I had avoided it. And I was like, does it matter that I go on a run through this area? And I'm like, yeah, it really does. This is like,
Mm.
and this isn't going to make some record book, or this isn't going to make, it's not going to be my longest run. It's not going to be my best time. I might not even feel great, but it is important that I do this.
Mm.
Like reminding ourselves that those little things matter is really important.
Especially because it's only for you. Like no one knows about that. Like you probably won't post that on Facebook, but you
Nope, I
know.
did not. I
Wow.
did not. And it was hard, dude.
Mm.
But I remember thinking like this run, the, what in 10 years, the fact that this person hurt you will not matter as much as you doing this run right now.
Yeah. Beautiful. So many decisions that we make in life again and again that have the power and potential to move us forwards to grow. So I want to have time to talk about Copenotes. So you're a certified recovery peer specialist. Tell us what that is, and then also how through Copenotes you've got this, in a sense, platform that can just magnify, amplify, and scale the impact that you can have with people.
Yeah, the easiest way to describe a peer specialist, if you're listening and you don't know what it is,
Mm.
it's using my lived experience with mental health conditions to support other people with similar challenges. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not rocket science. I went to school for psych and then I found out about peer support and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to become a clinician. I want to be a peer specialist. It fascinated me. And Code Notes is really a way to provide peer support, like support from people who have been through these things and understand it firsthand, to lots and lots of people at the same time. So I did this one-on-one and in group settings for many years. And now we do it through this program where we send people daily text messages from peers with health education content like psychology facts or journaling prompts, exercises. But talk about a little thing every day. It's literally a couple sentences each day at a random time on your phone. And over time, it's proven to reduce stress, anxiety, depression. And if this is maybe my favorite part, not only is it anonymous and no two people get the same message at the same time, so you're like the only person in the world to get whatever message pops up on your phone, but also if you're listening and you're like, Johnny, I don't live with depression or anxiety or stress, great. You won the lottery. That's awesome. I'm super proud of you. And it's also proven to increase emotional intelligence, resilience, coping skills, and focus. So this is the type of tool that can benefit literally anybody. And I think when I was doing peer support before, it was so focused on people who are struggling and we weren't doing as much prevention or intervention as I'd like. So this is the type of thing where like, my mom has a subscription. I don't think she's diagnosed with any
Yeah,
formal mental health condition and she still benefits from it. So that is cool because we're able to offer peer support to people who maybe wouldn't seek it out.
that's amazing because it normalizes healthy mental, psychological, emotional practices without waiting till you kind of fall off the cliff and then you have to get picked up and taken to rehab or hospital. So no, let's just keep doing these messages now. Let's invest in myself now. And the whole idea of like the continual practice, these daily messages as well, so people commit to these. What are some of the messages? I know it's unique, but are there any particular ones that you've found are really effective for people, some of your personal favorites, and how people use them, reflect on them in their own life?
Yeah, one that comes to mind that I really, really like and find a lot of hope in is that text that I brought up earlier, and by the way, if you go to copenotes.com, there's a week's worth of text messages right on the homepage, so you can actually swipe through, or I think it's on a timer so you can read through to see some of them. But one that really brings me a lot of hope is that message about like every day people win the lottery and fall in love. And it's like, dude, I remember I never wanted to get married. Like it was just not on my radar. And then I met somebody, like one of my exes, and then that day I'm like, oh, I guess I'm gonna get married because she's awesome. And we didn't wind up together, but it was like that it was one day change, David. Like I didn't have a desire to get married for like a quarter century. And then the very next day, it was like Wednesday, no desire to get married. Thursday, desire to get married. It's like, what? One day. And there are people who are in a similar position where, one day they thought they had a career doing that. My brother got a call from a recruiter, and they were like, do you want to come work at this other place and we'll double your salary? And
Wow.
he's like, yes, obviously. And so he had never heard of these people before. It was just a cold outreach. And this stuff happens, David. Like it's important for me when I go through a breakup, or when I have to let go of an employee, or when I have a contract fall through, or you name it, like any type of challenge. I need I need that reminder that like the next day something awesome can happen. There's all sorts of messages that Copenotes has sent me that
Mm.
have taught me about like different ways to frame things, and even like psychology facts. Like there's one that a lot of people talk about where there's a text that talks about like an enzyme in avocados that helps combat depression. And I was like, I never knew that. So there's like really interesting psychology fact stuff in there too. But when I think about a message that really brings me a lot of peace, it's that one that's like, man, your whole
Mm.
freaking life could change in an amazing way, like next Sunday. But like you don't know. So like stay in the game.
Love it. Love it. And the idea of these texts as well, committing to them day in, day out, we just need sometimes a little prompt, a little just to wedge the door open. Like in that darkness, just one little sparkle, a little candle, and then you can do the rest. But just to ignite that flame, to not give up, just to kind of keep going. And it's beautiful that that's a part of your mission in life. Before we wrap, Johnny, is there anything else you want to say to folks, especially around the don't give up, the keep going, believing in yourself, that you haven't shared yet? But this has been beautiful, man. Thank you.
This is one thing that helped me, especially when I was experiencing like really severe suicidal ideation. It was this idea. I used to tell myself, there's so much richness to life that I have yet to experience. Seriously, if I had died in my 20s, my early 20s, Cope Notes wouldn't exist.
Mm.
And we've helped tens of thousands of people get better. We've written music. Some of my favorite songs I've ever written, we've written in the last few years. So it's like, wow, I never would have even gotten to release that song because I wouldn't have been alive to write it. So I just want to encourage people that, like, here's what I'll say. If you've lived a life that's so difficult that you're thinking about not being alive anymore, it's likely that you've experienced already some of the worst things you'll ever experience. And it also means if you front loaded a lot of those hard years, it means that a lot of the next years of your life couldn't be consisting of those neutral or good years. So I always tell people like I accidentally front loaded all my hard years, which means you don't want to quit after that. Just do all your hard years and clock out. Like you're like, I did all my hard years. Now I'm trying to experience those neutral and good years, man. I put in my work and now I'm ready to I just don't want people to miss out on those big cool experiences, but also those little, like your favorite joke, like the funniest joke you'll ever hear. Like I'm curious. I want to hear what
Yeah.
that joke is, you know?
Yeah, that totally blows up. Like, what is today going to bring? I do not know. Is it going to be that
Yeah,
restaurant,
man.
that meal, that song? What's it going to be? Um, Beautiful, Johnny. So close us out, please, with details. Where should people go to find out about you, about Cope Notes, about prison?
Yeah, Prison. If you look on Spotify, the artist name is Prison. You'll see me. But the song that we were talking about today is called Pillar of Salt. So if you search Prison Pillar of Salt, it'll take you to our page. And we're on all the streaming platforms. For Copenotes, go to copenotes.com and you can share it with a friend or family member. We'll work with your school district or business for employee wellness or student wellness or your government. Like, we'll literally work with anybody. We just want to help people feel better. My speaking website is johnnycrowder.com. So if you need a keynote or a training or something like that, you can find it there. And I'm most active on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And on LinkedIn and Facebook, you can just search my name, Johnny Crowder. And if you go to Instagram, my handle is @JohnnyCrowderLovesYou, because I do.
Yay. Love you too, Johnny. This has been beautiful. Thank you. All your work.
Thank you for having me,
Your
dude.
energy. Pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks very much for listening and watching to this episode of The Healing Mindset. God bless. MAPA Minds, a network of next generation mental health clinics offering Spravato and ketamine treatment for depression. Go to mapaminds.com for more information.